Welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specializing in the wedding industry. Each week, we'll explore the strategies, stories, and insider tips that help wedding professionals thrive. You'll hear solo episodes filled with actionable advice for social media and inspiring conversations with esteemed wedding industry guests. Thank you for tuning in and letting this podcast be a part of your day. Let's get started. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. It has been a long time, it feels like at least, since I've sat down to do a solo episode with you guys. And boy, I have to tell you, it was kind of like the seeds we planted last year lasted all year long for us on the podcast. We did so many interviews through the spring and part of summer that it really took us through then the end of the year here, which was great. But now we're gearing up for engagement season, and I want the opportunity to talk to you guys about some of the things I take into account when doing a social media calendar during this time. So let's do it. I didn't prepare any notes. I just kind of sat here and hit record because, I'm working on all the content calendars for engagement season. So it is fresh on my mind. And one of the things I want you to keep in mind during engagement season is repetition. The repetition of posts, the repetition of your message. And when I say repetition of posts, I mean the frequency of your posts. Okay. So posting once to last you through engagement season isn't going to be enough. The more you can post, the better. And we can be realistic with that. That can mean 3 times a week or even twice a week is enough. And for different clients, the message is going to vary and it's going to be different. So for my venue clients right now, what's happening is they're looking at their calendar for 2026 and beyond, and they're seeing what's lacking. They're saying we have a ton of afternoons open, or Sundays, we have so many Sundays open, or maybe it's seasonal, or they're going, we have a lot of winter dates open. So that's the message we want to be leading people to and weaving through in our content. We want to be talking about whatever that biggest offer you want couples to know and that gap you want them to fill as you start to get the leads from engagement season. That's what we want to start grooming them with. For example, one of my venues that has a lot of afternoon weddings available, that's what we're starting to groom couples with now, having them realize the benefits of an afternoon wedding before they even walk through the door. So now when the sales director pitches it, it's not their first time hearing it. They've already heard, they've already seen on the Instagram that they're going to get the best light if they do an afternoon wedding, and they're going to really make the best of that view by having that time slot. So using social media as your sales tool to get couples used to your message before that big moment, right? We want social media to be an extension of your sales team. And I find the best time to get ideas for your social media posts are right after a sales call. What were their objections? What made them stop and go, oh, I didn't realize that, and get upset? You ever have that happen where they totally didn't realize maybe it was your price, your package, your times you work, your how far out you book? What was it that they didn't know that maybe they wish they'd known already? Those are the things we want to pull and start saving. If you do your appointments virtually, you may now be enjoying the AI recaps that Zoom and a lot of other online recording services give you. So you could take a look at those notes. You could copy and paste those notes into ChatGPT, and you could ask ChatGPT to give you some social media ideas for it, or just to come up with some on your own. I mention ChatGPT because anyone who's doing their own social media while running a business,
you probably don't have a lot of time. So that's why I try to think of these shortcuts for you. So, how often should we be talking about these things? So, let's say you are posting 4 times a week and you'll be doing that every week, through the end of the year. Then, at the very least, once a week, you should be talking about that most important message, whatever you determine that is. Now, the example I gave with venues, that's a real, very direct sales example. Not everybody is going to have something that clear. For example, for photographers, sometimes really the pitch is just showing the work. We want people to see the work. So, what's really going to help there is the consistency of posting their great portfolio images and top quality work. So, not every example is going to be as direct as pitching a specific package. For the photographer example, what you could keep in mind is where you'd like to book more of. So if you have worked at a particular venue and you want to be there more, then go all in with posting that venue. And maybe that's what you want to make sure to include once a week. And when you post about that venue, if you've listened to the podcast and we want you to be tagging the venue, perhaps inviting them as a collaborator and putting the location tag there. So as couples are vetting that venue, they're seeing your work too. So that's why all of these things come together and are so important. I want to talk about the algorithm for a second because as a couple gets engaged and their searches on Instagram reflect that change in their life, they're going to be maybe following different venues, looking up the type of wedding planning they're doing. So that could be destination weddings, it could be local weddings, it could be wedding venues, and so forth. As they start to look up those ideas, their algorithm is going to change to reflect that. And as they follow accounts, they're going to get suggested followers. I encourage you to remember, especially on Instagram, birds of a feather flock together. So by engaging with those other vendors, using the venues you want to show up at in your portfolio, talking about the areas you work in your captions in an organic way, that's going to help you to show up on their algorithm, whether it's through suggested posts, suggested accounts, the explore page, and so forth. So it's a lot of moving pieces, but once you get the groove, you get it. So let me kind of just recap that. So first, we're talking about the repetition of your messaging and posts. And by that, I mean just deciding what your most important message is going to be this engagement season and talking about it, reminding people that it exists. You also want to make sure that your posts include relevant SEO terms, includes things about where you work, who you work for, the locations you're at, and so forth, so you can take advantage of the natural algorithm. You also want to make sure to be tagging locations and other vendors where relevant. You want to make sure to be talking about your most important message. I say as often as you're willing to, but I think once a week, if you're posting 4 times a week, is fine. If you're posting twice a week, then maybe you want to do every other week, but really it doesn't matter because not everybody is consuming your content the way that you do. When I give a client their content calendar, they are consuming the entire month in one sitting. Nobody else is viewing their content that way. What we're striving to do with their content is to get one post that's going to go onto a new user's feed. So they're not seeing 30 posts that spoke about your package. They're seeing one that sparked their interest to get them to go to your page. So try not to get too caught up in thinking people are going to get bored of your message or be turned off. Most people won't be seeing it like that. And if they do, it just means, damn, you're pretty good at this Instagram game. So try not to get caught up on that. Repetition of posts and messaging can also mean changing up how you're doing it. Explore and change around from doing photo posts to reels to stories. It can be as simple as just posting a story with a photo or even just a text talking about what you're doing and what you're trying to promote. You think that everybody knows it until you start talking about it, and people are surprised to hear it. The example I like to give a lot is a venue who said, "Why aren't we booking weddings of 300 people?" And it's like, "Because I didn't know you could do that, you know?" So once we start talking about it, then people know you can do that. You don't know what people are already assuming about you. For example, if you are a wedding planner or a vendor of any type, right, that a couple doesn't really know, you know, they may have their assumptions of how far out you have to book somebody. So let's say they're thinking of a last minute addition and they may think, well, it's only 2 months out. There's no way I could hire a live event painter or day of coordination this close in. If you let people know that exists, then they may actually go, oh, wow, I feel safe to inquire now because this is something that is available. This is my recommendation to you guys as you tackle engagement season. Don't worry about saying the same thing more than once. You'll be just surprised to learn that you actually have a lot to say once you spend the time to post and do it. And if you want your important message to be seen, you will have to say it more than once. I know. No one wants to hear that. Boy, guys, I'm thinking, even in this episode alone, how much did I repeat what I was trying to teach here, right? So that's going to do it for this episode. I wanted to come on alone and give you a bit of my strategy on social media as we head into engagement season. It is a very busy time of year for us here at I Do Wedding Marketing as we are getting clients geared up and ready for engagement season. If you are looking for a social media strategy call to get you ready for the season, then now is the time to book it. You can go to idoweddingmarketing.com to learn more about those strategy sessions. And thanks for listening here on the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast. We will be back next week with another episode. Thanks, guys.